So I'm really excited to hear now from our next speaker, Senate Ag Committee Chairwoman Debbie Stabenow. In addition to serving on the Senate Ag Committee, she serves as a member of the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee and a senior member of the Finance Committee and Budget Committee. In the 2018 Farm Bill, she authored the most advanced climate-smart agriculture policies to date. Building on that progress, she's leading that effort to help agriculture be part of the solution to the climate crisis through voluntary, producer-led, bipartisan policies. She partnered with Senator Mike Braun of Indiana to introduce the bipartisan Growing Climate Solutions Act. And as part of that, she's going to help farmers and foresters scale up sustainable agricultural practices and tap into new economic opportunities through voluntary carbon markets. It's what a great pleasure to introduce Chairwoman Debbie Stabenow.
Well, good afternoon. I see my partner over here. I understand you were filling folks in earlier about agriculture. I guess I should just say amen, right? And go with you. So I'm No, it's wonderful to be with all of you, and I do have to say, after just leaving the mall, where we had Ag on the Mall, and they had a chance to go out and see all this cool new stuff that is happening, and tractors, and all kinds of really cool things. Got up in a lot of them. It was kind of fun. And with my current ranking member, John Bozeman, who we are working together so very well. But I have to tell you, Senator Pat Roberts and I, how many years, Pat? I mean, a long time. I was chair, then you stole it from me, and you were chair, and then I was chair. And so it's been a while. It's been a while. So enjoyable. So anyway, so it's great to be with you. And Sara, thank you, and to everybody for pulling this together again, and to actually be with you. I can see faces. It's an amazing thing. And I don't know about you, but it feels like, well, we did lose 2 years. It feels like everything now I talk about in terms of pre-COVID and post-COVID as we try to figure out, good to see you, try to figure out what's happening. And it's, of course, been especially stressful for agriculture. And good news now is that prices are up. Strong demand, that's great. Bad news is inputs are up. Trying to find fertilizer, and all the costs, all the challenges, all the supply chain issues that come with shutting down an economy, not just in America, but around the globe, in the middle of a global pandemic, the worker shortages, and now the war in Ukraine and all the implications for that as it relates to food and fuel and so on. And most importantly, the loss of life. And we got to stand with Ukraine against this brutal, brutal, brutal war. So this really is a moment to come together in so many different ways. And it's also a moment to double down on innovation. And I know Senator Roberts and I, we are the parents of FAR, the Foundation for Food and Agriculture. And finally having a public-private partnership in agricultural research like we have done in healthcare for years. And we need to do more and more and more of that. It's about research, it's about innovation. And as I said, Senator Bozeman and I were just at the celebration on ag over here at the mall, and we saw innovation firsthand in so many different ways. We saw really amazing stuff. Sprayers that help farmers use less inputs, of course, and software that tells them down to the seedling what their crops need. Bio-based products, which I'm a huge, huge supporter of as a state that makes things and grows things. And we can do that, bio-based materials, bio-based products, renewable fuels, a whole range of things that we can do together. And precision ag is going to help our farmers do more to address the climate crisis and our reliance on oil prices. And this means sustainability both environmentally and economically. So this is a moment not to back away, but I believe to lean in, despite all the challenges that we have. And frankly, this is a time to bring jobs home. And as somebody who's been saying for years, we need to make things in America. And we've been in a just-in-time supply chain with the auto industry, with manufacturing, with agriculture. It was okay if it was made in Taiwan, or it was okay if fertilizer was someplace else, just so if you could get it right away. And then we see what happens when you can't. And so making things in America, producing things here is great for jobs. It's great for a sustainable supply chain. And it's essential, I believe, going forward. And so I'm really pleased to see the Biden administration investing in fertilizer production. We need to do more of that here and other production that we need. And I have heard loudly and clearly producers' frustration with all of the volatility and the input costs. And so I welcome your ideas on what else we should be doing together. And having a resilient food supply chain. We all know what happened when the markets broke down, the food supply chain broke down, transportation supply chain broke down, labor, and so on. And now we're working hard to put that back together and support efforts to do that. As you know, we have more than $5 billion for food supply chain resilience that we put in the American Rescue Plan and the Consolidated Appropriations Act to try to deal with small and medium-sized processors, get more competition, get more resiliency, which I think is very, very important. And the USDA is investing in food supply chain infrastructure, processing capacity. As I said, the new food supply chain loan guarantee is going to help be able to do more around processing and transportation and distribution and storage infrastructure, all of which are very, very important. And there are other programs as well. So there's a lot that we need to be doing as we are getting ready for the next Farm Bill that we will begin to hold hearings on in the next few months. We're also doing a number of other things with the committee that deal with these types of issues and supply chains, working with Senator Tester and Senators Grassley and Fisher and others on how we can find fairness and transparency in our cattle and livestock markets. I know this is very complicated, but there's a lot of discussion going on around that, listening to all parts of the supply chain there to see what can be done. And our ports, I'm working with Senator Klobuchar and Senator Thune, who are moving a bill, Ocean Shipping Reform Act, that we hope is going to move in the Commerce Committee. And I'm really happy to see that USDA's pilots are in Oakland and Seattle to ease port congestion. So all of these issues around supply chain pieces and transportation are really, really important. At the same time, as we look at what's happening at the ports, for instance, we know that we've got to open those up because we want to trade. We have to trade. We need those markets. And we are the leaders in the world in doing that. And so dependable foreign demand provides certainty for farmers. I'm glad to see we're seeing a more reliable trade landscape right now. But we know that the infrastructure pieces are important to that, as well as having those relationships and those trade agreements. In spite of everything, 2021 was a record year for exports, which is really amazing when you look at everything that everybody has been through. And we're now working with our new ambassador, trade ambassador, to expand access. So this is very important. We've had good news recently on my beloved cherries, Pat, in India. We're opening things up, and on corn and wheat and pork in Vietnam, and just beginning to do some things that will open up more opportunities for us right now. Again, in the middle of all the volatility now and all the impact of what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. I also have to say that I'm really pleased that in the USMCA, the language we put in to support our dairy farmers, that we have a dispute settlement panel that met last month, and hopefully we're going to see some things addressed with dairy as well. So a lot that needs to happen. And by the way, part of that is filling the trade positions. And so we have to have our USDA Undersecretary on Trade. We've got to get that position filled. Does anybody want to raise their hand on who would like to? Okay, yeah, and we also need to make sure that we've got our trade negotiator. We've got to have these positions filled, and that's something I'm really pushing very, very hard for right now. You all know about the investments we have made in infrastructure, and I want to make sure in rural America that we are running quickly on high-speed internet and on the roads and bridges and water systems and the other infrastructure that we need to help rural communities like where I grew up and to help our farmers as well. But that was a very important thing that we got done last spring that's going to pay a lot of dividends for us, I think, in terms of economic development and supporting our growers. Let me talk for a minute about climate-smart agriculture, because we've had 42 separate billion-dollar disasters in the last 2 years. 42 different billion-dollar disasters in the last 2 years. So I think we're past debating whether or not the climate crisis is real. Now it's about all of us working together to figure out what we're going to do about it. And farmers, ranchers, foresters have a really important way, a role to play. They're already doing it, but there's more we can do if we are supporting you in your efforts as we look at what we can do, both on carbon pollution as well as in methane, to support. Our mantra on the committee is voluntary, producer-led, bipartisan efforts. And so I'm thrilled we passed the Growing Climate Solutions Bill a year ago by 92 votes. Pat's the only thing we've ever done that was more than our farm bill. It was 92 votes in the United States Senate out of 100. And now it's in the House. And unfortunately, it's been stuck. We're trying to unstuck it right now, and we appreciate everyone leaning in to talk to the folks who have expressed concerns, to have them understand that this is voluntary, producer-led, bipartisan, and something really, really important in supporting our farmers and ranchers and foresters to be able to move forward. So I want to thank FACA. I want to thank everybody that's been involved in telling this message. And Agri-Pulse had a story just last week on how our conservation programs were so popular. In fact, some are oversubscribed by 3 to 1. And so there's a lineup outside the door to do the things that we're talking about. And I'm working very hard to get the resources to do this. Farmers tell us they want to do it. We need to step up and be supporting their efforts as well. And let me finally just say, on the Farm Bill, we will be doing what Senator Roberts and I have done in the past to kick off the Farm Bill. I will be going to Arkansas this time, Pat. I won't be going to Kansas. I'll be going to Arkansas, and then Senator Bozeman will be coming to Michigan. And after we do our first two field hearings, we will begin title by title review and input, and that's where all of you come in, because we want to know what's worked and not worked. What can we do better than before in the world that is happening now, in all of the uncertainty. The strengths that are there are many strengths that are there. American agriculture is still the best, still the most productive, still the safest, most abundant food supply. The strength is there. But we know that as things have been changing in our country and on the world stage, that we need to take a look at the safety net. We need to take a look at what more we need to be doing around crop insurance and what we need to do in other areas to support our farmers as they're moving forward. We have had success in the Farm Bill by bringing everybody in. We don't leave folks out. Big, small, doesn't matter what part of the country you're from, doesn't matter what you grow. The whole point has been to say we're all in this together. We benefit because of the incredible hard work and strength of American agriculture. And when we come together and do something that makes sense and gives everybody a fair shot to be successful in agriculture and in the food industry, we are all stronger and better for it. So thank you very much. It's great to be here with you today. Happy to take a couple questions, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Stabenow. As she said, she's happy to take a couple questions, and I'm going to take the liberty of asking you the first one. Thank you, because we did have quite a bit of discussion today about what funding, if any, might be additional in a new farm bill. And we know that you were a champion of having a lot of new conservation funding in the Build Back Better plan.
Right.
But absent that, or perhaps in light of a scaled back one, where would one look for opportunities?
Well, sort of the good news, bad news. If we are able to put together a climate clean energy package, which I believe we still can, there's no guarantees, but I believe we can, and our pieces of it in agriculture and forestry are ones that are widely supported by everyone. And so if there's something that's moving, you know, I am very hopeful we can add resources there. Short of that, we will be dealing with a flat-funded farm bill. And so that will be our challenge at this point. You know, we have done disaster assistance through appropriations now. As I mentioned to you, the different disaster assistance programs. But frankly, you know, if we have those resources for strengthening conservation and some other rural energy programs, that will put us in a much better position to be able to move forward on the Farm Bill. Otherwise, we're going to be, you know, looking for ways to be creative, but there is no automatic place to go. I mean, we will be basically looking at the same baseline that we have right now, which is one of the reasons that, you know, I believe there's a number of reasons why we need to do this in terms of what we've dubbed as climate smart agriculture. But certainly part of that is supporting what farmers want in terms of doing more around conservation. And we are not going to be able to meet that need, you know, if we're not able to do this. So I'm very hopeful we'll be able to get this done.
Thank you. And there was, if you have time for one more question, there's one that came in from the audience here asking that there's been so much discussion about climate, but how do we keep also a focus on perhaps water quality, water quantity? I know for us that are now doing a lot of work in our West Coast coverage, you know, we've got a lot of big issues out there. So
no question.
Any thoughts on what we might do to elevate the issue of water quality and quantity?
Well, as a state that's surrounded just about by water, Great Lakes, this is really a passion for me. And when we talk about conservation, by the way, a lot of this is water quality related. I mean, when in the 2014 Farm Bill, we created the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, bringing public-private sector together to look at larger projects around watersheds. This has been very successful in Michigan, and I know in many other places. And this is part of what we want to do more of. I mean, when I say conservation, it's land and water conservation. The other piece in our sustainable forestry provisions in the package that we had put together before relates to forest fires. How do we manage forest fires in a smart way? But we have to manage forest fires. We have to manage the forests. We have to be doing more in that area. And so part of what our package is that we have put forward addresses forest fires and sustainability. Long term, it actually helps when you are clearing the underbrush both from a climate and from a fire standpoint. I mean, there's a lot of important pieces in that as well. But water is very important, and I will say this also, that in the infrastructure bill that we passed, for the first time, it wasn't just roads and bridges, or rail systems, whatever, it's water systems, water and sewer systems that are funded aggressively in the new infrastructure bill. And in fact, I just announced on Friday in Michigan a number of water projects that we're doing. And so it is something that has come up both for the first time. I think that we're in a spot where water infrastructure is viewed as infrastructure in this bill, and high-speed internet is viewed as infrastructure, both of which are critically important. And we all know it's pretty hard to debate now after COVID and what's happened for our children being home and businesses and farms and everyone being home, that high-speed internet isn't infrastructure. So I feel like the new bill really sets an important marker for us going forward around water and around high-speed internet, both of which are incredibly important.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in
Thank
thanking Chairwoman Stabenow. So we're ready to get set up for our next and final panel, before we're joined by Senator Bozeman. And I'd like to welcome Philip Rasher up to the stage, who'll be moderating that session, and also welcome our next video from Syngenta.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here in Atessa, Italy, at the brand new research center of Valagro. Here they're developing leading-edge tools and leading-edge products in biologicals, plant stimulants, and plant biocontrols that are helping farmers all around the world better deal with climate change-driven weather extremes, drought, heat, and other challenges, and be part of the solution with seeds, crop protection, and biologicals to help farmers grow a great crop despite climate change, to help us together improve the health of soils, improve the ability of farmers to capture carbon in the soils. It's a holistic approach to helping the farmers by bringing them leading-edge seeds that grow healthy plants themselves, bringing them natural biologicals to stimulate the plant growth and, where applicable, to help control with natural biological products, but then also crop protection chemistry that very effectively and in many cases is absolutely necessary to help control weeds, diseases, and insects. So if you use all three together, you help the farmer get great yields despite climate-driven weather extremes, and you help the farmer enrich the soil and bring carbon into the soil, and thereby help the farmers be part of the solution to climate change.